Thanks for joining us today. I hope that you can see our screen here for those of you that are listening in on the phone and can't see the screen right now. Just so you know, we will be sending this after the call, so you'll have the chance to see it. Today we are going to be talking about TikTok, what marketers need to know about TikTok. I will say that the only mention of COVID-19 that I'm going to make right now is that, like many of you, we are all working from home right now. So we have dogs and children running around in the background. We are trying to keep them as quiet as possible, but you know how that goes. So if you hear my children or my dogs, I apologize. Other than that, we're going to save conversations around COVID-19 today. We do have another webinar coming up later this week where we will be talking about COVID-19 and its impact on social media strategy with an open kind of AMA style conversation with our leadership team. So look for information about that if you are interested in talking about that. But again, we're kind of going to save that for today, forget about it for a second as best we can, and really focus in on TikTok today. I am Erin Ledbetter. I am Senior Vice President with our Influencer Marketing Division, Carousel. And then I also have Vanessa Williams here with me, who is a Senior Manager on our strategy team with Ignite Social Media. So we'll be talking to you today about TikTok, specifically for brands and how brands might be able to leverage influencers on the platform as well. We will try to get through this as quickly as possible, so we have plenty of time for questions. There are a lot of people on the call today. So if you do have questions in the little Zoom menu at either the top or bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A button. Please drop your questions in there, and we will do our best to get through as many of those as possible before we run out of time today. And then, like I mentioned, we will be recording today's webinar, so you have the opportunity to review it or pass it along to colleagues if you feel like that's helpful. So without further ado, let's get started. Today's agenda, like I mentioned, we'll be quickly going over what is TikTok, who's using it, and what are some of the watchouts we have for brands related to TikTok, along with best practices and examples. We'll cover the existing paid media opportunities, and then of course talk about how different ways brands might be able to activate influencers on the channel, regardless of whether you have your own brand presence there. So I want to start with a quick poll. And so you'll see this come up in your screen. You should see it now. My question, just so we kind of understand where everyone's at, is does your brand have a presence on TikTok? Yes, no, or maybe you're considering it. Go ahead and pop in those answers. Just help us kind of understand where everyone's at today in terms of your experience with the channel. See answers kind of slowing down here. I'll give you just another minute. Awesome. Okay, so it's looking like only a little over 10% of the folks on the call today have an existing brand presence on TikTok. That's not surprising. There are actually very few brands on the channel today. A lot of brands are probably, or a lot of brands are in the boat that you guys are, really trying to understand and figure it out. So thank you for sharing that, guys. Really hope that today will be helpful for you. So let's dive in here. I'll pass it over to Vanessa, who's going to talk us through what TikTok is and who's using it.
All right, thanks, Erin. So what is TikTok? TikTok is a social video platform that allows users to create, share, and edit videos all within the app. What makes TikTok different from a lot of other social networks is it has a lot of great built-in tools to add music or special effects and really bring these videos to life. It's very much a sound-on platform. For those of you who are familiar with what Vine was, it can kind of draw comparisons there. But clips can be 15 seconds in length, and then you can combine multiple clips to be up to a minute in length. You might be surprised that it actually launched in 2016. It merged with Musical.ly in 2018 to become the app we know of today as TikTok. As you can see here, this is really kind of what you'll see when you open the app. We included a video to kind of bring that to life a little bit for you guys. There's two main feeds. The first one is a For You tab. And this tab is really a stream of content that the platform serves up based on things you've interacted with in the past. It's an algorithm based on your interests, what you've engaged with. And then on the other side, we have the Following tab. And this is content that you've chosen to follow brands, influencers, other users on the platform will all show up in this feed, in this stream right here. TikTok has 1.5 billion app installs, pretty impressive number there. It was actually the 7th most downloaded app of the 2010s. And we did a little looking and it actually rose to the 2nd most downloaded app as of last week. Obviously, people are at home, kids are at home and having a little bit more time on their hands, and TikTok is seeing usage numbers go up because of that. So who is on TikTok? I bet a lot of you have an idea of who the core user base is, and you aren't wrong. Based on some data that we have from Global Web Index, 48% are between the ages of 16 and 24, and a large majority of the people on the app are under the age of 34, so it is does skew much younger. It's pretty evenly split between male and female, slightly higher male usage, and obviously a higher adoption within the Asia region, but we are seeing growth between North America and European regions as well. So we wanted to break down these numbers a little bit more to US based. So of those 1.5 billion downloads, 120 million of those have come within the United States. There are roughly 60 million US monthly active users on the app. And based on kind of doing some calculations, so of those 16 to 24, there's about 29 million of those who are TikTok users. So to kind of put this into a little bit more perspective, we did a little bit of research and found that there are roughly 38 million people between the ages of 16 and 24 in the US. So that equates to about 76% of people 16 to 24 using TikTok. So it's a very saturated market with this particular audience, and it's a great way to reach this demo. We also looked at the time spent on TikTok, and people are spending roughly 52 minutes a day on TikTok, which is quite a lot. It is in kind of the lines of the time spent on Facebook and Instagram, and even more so higher than the time spent on Twitter and Snapchat. People are opening the app 8 times a day, so there's a lot of opportunities for brands to reach the audience on TikTok. All right, so we wanted to kind of start with a couple of brand watchouts, which is really important if you're considering having a presence on TikTok. And this really drills down to their terms of service. One thing that has definitely stood out to us was TikTok has unlimited rights to reuse and repurpose your content. And that's really important for any brand to know. They have the ability to use it royalty free. They can use it in any way they want to in an ad campaign. The person in the brand retains that copyright, but again, TikTok can repurpose that content in any way that it wants to. It's also drawn a little bit of buzz in terms of those terms of service, and then also with some potential cybersecurity threats. People within the military and TSA aren't allowed to be on TikTok because of those reasons. All right, so now that we covered the watchouts, we do want to talk a little bit about best practices for TikTok, starting with what works. This platform, more than pretty much any other social platform, really draws on authenticity, which is why it's so important for brands, users, influencers to keep it casual and be real when they're creating content. TikTok is not like Instagram. Instagram is highly curated, highly polished, and that is just not the kind of content that you're going to see on this particular platform. We're also seeing the content performing the best is really story-driven. People are coming to TikTok to be entertained. They're not necessarily coming for educational or product-driven content, so anything that's very, very product promotional heavy is not doing particularly well on the platform. So it's really important for brands to figure out what stories they have to tell and the unique ways to tell them to reach this audience in engaging ways. So what doesn't work? Traditional video content is just not going to play on this platform. So don't think that you can repurpose your TV ad campaigns, your YouTube videos, your Facebook videos. That content is just not going to resonate on the platform, and that really goes back to that authenticity and really making sure it feels natural to the platform in terms of where that content is being created. Also, bandwagoning. TikTok, if you spend any time within the platform, has a lot of challenges going around. There's a lot of trends. People are creating, dances and things like that, videos and songs, and there's a lot going on. And it's really important for your brand to figure out where it feels like it can fit in naturally with some of that and where it doesn't. And if you don't feel like you can fit in well, it's important to kind of stay away from it. Users on this platform are quick to call out anything that doesn't feel authentic to the platform. And then finally, improperly formatted video. It's really important that if you're creating content, you're creating it within the TikTok app. You want to make sure your content is filmed vertically, no horizontal video, in that 9:16 format. And again, making sure that you're able to tell a story and create content within that 15 seconds is important. All right, jumping into a couple brand examples. The first one we have is Chipotle. This was probably one of the first brands to really leverage TikTok really well on their behalf. And again, they do it in a really natural, relatable way with the content that they're creating. They're doing some in-store videos, some behind the scenes. They do a really great job with incorporating humor in a way that's really natural to just who they are as a brand in general. They've also jumped in on some challenges, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. The lid flip challenge was one. They also had a challenge around National Avocado Day, where they had a hashtag guac dance, where they encouraged people to submit videos with a theme song by Chipotle around avocados. So they're doing some really creative executions on the platform, and one to watch as a good example. The next is Fenty Beauty. This is a brand that we really see as being successful because they're highlighting, authenticity and inclusivity. Again, they're doing some behind the scenes videos showcasing real people using their products. As you can see with this content here, it's not overly produced, it's not overly touched up. And, they're doing it so they're creating and showing a wide variety of people using their products. One thing that we saw at the beginning of the month, Rihanna actually created a Fenty Beauty house in LA. So it's actually a physical location where she invited content creators, TikTok influencers, beauty influencers to come to this house and test products and create content in real time. Obviously, that has been since put on pause with social distancing, but we thought it was a really great example of a brand bringing content creators together and creating that content specifically for TikTok. All right, our final example, a little bit different and maybe one that you wouldn't think would be successful on TikTok, is the Washington Post. They're doing a really great job with stunt skits, behind the scenes. They're playing off memes. They're doing a really great job with workplace humor. And it's really bringing in an audience that probably isn't super familiar with actually having a newspaper, but getting them interested in news and the content that Washington Post is producing, but in a digital format. So it's just a way that a brand that you might not think would be successful is seeing a lot of success on the platform. All right, so jumping into some paid media opportunities. TikTok currently offers 4 kind of core ad units within the US. The first one you see here is an in-feed native video ad. And you can think of this as essentially a sponsored post that you might see on any other platform as you're scrolling through your feed. It's essentially, again, a 15-second clip that allows you to link off to either an internal or an external landing page, as you can see here with the call to action there. The next is a branded takeover. This is essentially, as soon as you open the app, it's a full screen experience. It's a 3-second still image or a 3 to 5 second video. And the top view component allows you to pair this branded takeover with a native video, so you can pair it together for that top view experience. And the good thing about this particular ad unit is that it is category exclusive. So for if you're a food and beverage brand, you will have this particular unit and no one else within that category will have that unit for that day. So that's a great way to really engage audiences. The next is a branded hashtag challenge. So on TikTok, there's an opportunity for organic challenges and then sponsored challenges. So we talked a little bit earlier about Chipotle and this lid flip challenge. This was a sponsored challenge that they did where they created content and then encouraged users to upload videos of how they're flipping their lids onto their burrito bowl. So with this sponsored challenge, it allows the brand to show up in the discovery feed for up to 6 days. So for more exposure there, it also allows the brand to kind of have a branded page similar as you see in this example here. And it also allows the brand to bring on influencers. So Chipotle partnered with influencers to help kind of seed this hashtag challenge and get a little bit of virality with that. And then finally, there's the branded effect. This is essentially an animated lens that you are probably familiar. Snapchat made these very popular, or Instagram, and essentially it's triggered by hand and facial movements. It can be 2D, 3D, AR as well. Mac was just a really great example of how it allowed users to test their makeup through this branded effect ad unit here. So looking at targeting capabilities, obviously TikTok is a younger platform and at this point has the fewest number of targeting capabilities compared to some of the other social networks, but we do see that that will likely expand as they kind of get a little bit more with their advertising capabilities. Right now there's kind of 4 main categories that you can build your targeting around. The first one being demographics. So obviously age, gender, location, language being some of the core targets there. Also interests. TikTok has a variety of interest-based categories such as gaming, entertainment, food and beverage, beauty, travel. So you're able to target your content based on those interest capabilities. Also, custom and lookalike audiences, very similar to a lot of the other social platforms. You can upload a list and you can target based on those custom lists that you have and then create lookalike audiences based on those lists. And then finally, device, you can target based on people having Android or Apple devices as a way to get that message to a particular set of users. Right now, TikTok is in a self-serve beta for a lot of the advertising, but in terms of some of the ads that we looked at earlier with those branded takeovers and those branded effects, a brand would work right with TikTok to get those created. All right, before I pass it back to Erin, would love to see if your brand has engaged influencers on TikTok. So I just launched the poll, curious to see if anybody has incorporated influencers. Getting some initial results in. Leave it up for a couple more minutes as we get a couple more votes. Seems like for the most part, no, followed by we are considering it, so that's good. Awesome. All right, Erin, I'll pass it over to you to talk influencer.
And in true work from home fashion, I just had a delivery truck pull up in front of my house. So my dog's going crazy. I apologize. You guys might be able to hear it. But anyway, let's talk about influencer considerations. So TikTok as a channel, as Vanessa shared, it's really built for this rapid video consumption. And a lot of that consumption is around entertaining content. And as a result of that rapid video consumption, what we see is that literally anyone could create a video that gets millions of views. I think that's one of the benefits of partnering with influencers on the channel. So even though pretty much anyone could create a video that gets millions of views, we have influencers that have really evolved on this channel who do regularly get millions and millions of reviews on their content or views on their content. And let's take comparison to that. Let's compare that to Instagram, for example. I'm comparing Ariana Grande here on the left, who is one of the most followed people on Instagram, to Lauren Gray on the right, one of the most followed people on TikTok. And what we see is that Ariana Grande, she actually reaches about 18% of Instagram users in terms of her followers. Lauren Gray, only 4% of TikTok users are her followers. But when we look at their content themselves, average video views for Ariana Grande, 5.4 million. Average video views for our girl Lauren Gray, 6 million. So even though the reach looks much smaller on TikTok, that rapid consumption of really short video content means that you're able to get your content in front of many, many more people. And we looked at other influencers too. So no confidential information here. You can't really tell who this is, but this is pulled directly from the creator marketplace that TikTok has, which is pretty impressive. And I'll get to that in just a second. But this insight isn't unique to Lauren. So you look at the different reach of these influencers that I'm showing here. Obviously, you don't know who's who, but we have an influencer with 7.1 million in reach. Their average video views 7 million. An influencer with 2.2 million in reach, their average video views 7.4 million. And you see that's really consistent across the board. So one of the great things about TikTok and leveraging it for influencers is we haven't lost that organic reach, and there's quite a bit of virality that happens on this channel that really benefits brands that we don't really see on the rest of the social platforms right now. So given that there's a lot of opportunity here, what are some ideas for activating influencers on the platform? So there are, some of the things I'm showing you here, these are things that are just organically on the platform that people are doing a lot, that brands could really kind of leverage this type of content creation in a way to get influencers doing work for them. So one is by seeding Q&As. And so, what you'll have is you'll have this kind of voice over audio track. And the example you're seeing here, I know you can't hear the audio, but there's a voiceover and it's asking questions. And is it your youngest, middle, or oldest child that is the answer to that question? Obviously, you could take a branded twist on this. And, here's a way that influencers could create some really entertaining content that actually seeds other users to be able to create this content as well. Because one of the really cool things and unique things about TikTok is that you can take the audio track from any piece of content that was put out there, and you can use that audio track in your own content. And so it's a really great platform to be able to seed UGC if you get that audio track and the inspirational seed content right. There's an opportunity to ask for tutorials. This is what you see in the middle here. This 15-second, how do we quickly show people something that they don't know or something that's interesting? Cooking and beauty and fashion, those are probably really the top 3 tutorials that we're seeing people do on the channel, and there's definitely an opportunity to get your brand featured in those tutorials. And then just give them tools to entertain. Again, this was really built to be an entertainment platform. So if we can give them tools in the form of music or kind of storyboard inspiration that features your brand in some way. This example here is not a sponsored post by Ray-Bans, but it very well could be. So you could see if we had influencers, following this kind of similar storyboard or similar theme where they're all creating the similar content featuring a brand, it could be pretty powerful. Here's some examples of ways that brands actually are today activating influencers. So there are quite a few brands that are creating original music. That sounds to me like a pretty hard task, but it is being done. Some of it is in partnership with TikTok, but we're creating this original music because it really, again, it started as Musical.ly, and so a lot of the influencers and a lot of the content that you're going to see on the platform has music as kind of its base track and really keeping the pace of the video that you're seeing. So we have one from NYX Cosmetics. They created a butter pop lip gloss or butter gloss pop something kind of song. It's beyond me, but you see all these influencers creating this content using this song. Macy's, this example on the right hand side that was just playing, Macy's created a song that influencers were using to try on a bunch of prom dresses in this prom dress campaign. I'm not sure if this is still running. I would imagine it's not at this point, but it was a pretty interesting concept here. Then on the right hand side, here's another example of what influencers are doing and brands are doing with influencers. Again, this is something that you can partner with TikTok to do from a paid perspective. You could also try to run one organically on your own using influencers to seed, but TikTok is all about the challenges and inspiring people to create UGC. So in this example, My Skin and Me, influencers are talking about their skin and feeling confident in their own skin, but there is a little bit of watch out here with these seed challenges. And so as you see the example here from the influencer, But this challenge took on, kind of a life of its own. We have a rapping grandma, which is actually kind of hilarious, and it was a refreshing take on the challenge. Probably not one Massage Envy expected, but interesting enough. But I think the thing that's the real watch out here is understanding that these really could take on a life of their own. And I imagine that Massage Envy, trying to promote its skincare line that you can buy in any of their spas, did not anticipate people promoting Rodan and Fields skincare products or Cetaphil skincare products in response to their challenge. And so again, you just have to, know what you're getting into when you get on TikTok here. Some of the other things to keep in mind, this is not your average Instagram campaign. We're seeing brands, as more and more brands get into influencer marketing, we're seeing more and more brands wanting to control the content that influencers are putting out. And you got to understand that this platform really thrives on authenticity and speed. And so unfortunately, if you are with a brand that needs to approve everything, and there's delays or even really just the need to edit content to have it be perfect, that's not what this platform's about, and that's not what the influencers on this platform are about. So it's just something to keep in mind. If that's the case, this probably, at least at this point, is not the right platform for your brand. Finally, final considerations to know before you TikTok. There is a creator marketplace that TikTok launched. It is invite only, so not everyone has access right now. It's just in beta, but I will tell you, because we do have access, that it is one of the most sophisticated creator marketplaces that I've seen. They're really up there with the best in class overall influencer marketplaces in terms of its capabilities, its ability to discover influencers. There's only about 2,000 creators in it, but it's pretty impressive what they've been able to do in their short history here. So it's a powerful tool. TikTok influencers, you should know, cost significantly less. We've seen Instagram influencer costs rising, doubling or more than doubling year over year right now on a per view. So this is viewable impression basis. We're seeing Instagram influencers, our latest research is showing they're somewhere between $40 and $110 CPM. Now that's not based on reach, that's based on the actual views that they're getting on their content, those viewable impressions, $40 to $110 CPM. TikTok influencers, somewhere between 50 cents and $5. So it's a great platform to get on with efficiency if you can find a way to make it work. Finally, the measurement at this point, it's a new channel. It's going to be very basic. And if you're not working within the creator platform, which is only open to beta users right now, your measurement is not only going to be basic, but highly, highly manual. So try to rush through that because I do, want to make sure we had time for questions. I do have time to go over. We are right at 1:30, so we were planning to end right now, but we have a lot of questions and I want to make sure we have time to go through them. So we'll spend about 5 minutes on questions. If you have time to stay, please do. If not, just know as a reminder, we do, if you're interested in joining our roundtable discussion on COVID-19 and social media marketing, we are going to be hosting that Thursday at 2 p.m. And we'll share that information with you. But, aside from that, I do want to go ahead and run through just a couple questions here. The first one, and guys, there's a ton, so I'm sorry if we can't get to all of them, but we'll try to move through. Somebody asked about TikTok and COPPA compliance. So know that TikTok did get in a little bit of a trouble a couple of years ago. This really goes back to when they were Musically, and having basically illegally collecting data on children that went against child privacy laws. That's what they were accused of. It did end up settling, so I don't think there was any conviction there, but they did settle that lawsuit and have added additional privacy settings. I believe, again, I'm not as close to this just because, we don't typically market to children under 13, but my understanding is as of February, they launched a family safety mode that really allows parents to control not only the usage time, but a lot of the privacy settings for children who are under 18. So things like not, controlling who can send their child DMs, and even beyond that, just saying nobody is allowed to send my child DMs. So I know they've done some stuff like that. I know that they have, they've made plenty of statements talking about how much of a priority it is for them. But to my knowledge, the only thing that has officially happened is this family safety mode. At one point, there was talk about rolling out a separate app for children under 18, I'm sorry, under 13. But I don't know if that's happened, honestly. Vanessa, I don't know if you know. I have not personally seen anything about that.
I haven't seen anything about that either quite yet.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's happened or if that was just something that was mentioned as a possibility. Um, Other questions here. Does TikTok hold the same usage rights to your ads content as they do for normal users? I believe, Vanessa, dive in here. I believe if you're running an ad through TikTok, it would be different. But I think that, what you had covered, Vanessa, was the terms of use for anything that's published organically on the channel, where they do hold that license to reuse and repurpose the content.
Yeah, that's what I've seen as well.
Okay.
It looks like we have a couple questions about connecting with content creators and the creator marketplace. Erin, you want to describe that a little bit more?
Yeah, so like I said, the creative marketplace right now is in beta. It is invite only. So what I really like about it is that you can search in the creator marketplace by things like audience, which I think is so key. One of the things we tell our clients all the time, they're always looking for influencers who personally represent who their ideal consumer target profile is. But really, that's not always what you need. You need somebody who's reaching and relevant to your consumer audience. And so I do like that the TikTok marketplace is not built on like the demographics of the influencers themselves, but you can search by who their audience is. I think that's a really powerful feature. It's something that we don't even see in a lot of influencer marketplaces that are cross-platform. So to see it in TikTok, this brand new creator platform, I was really happy about that. I really love how you can see not only what their kind of average overall engagement rates are for the influencers, but you can actually see the sponsored content that they've done. So you can see not only how it performed, but how do they approach sponsored content. Again, just some best practices there on kind of best in class marketplace type platforms that even the most marketplace platforms that have been out there for a while with influencers don't have. So that's really great. You can right within the marketplace communicate with influencers. You can manage once they accept an assignment, you can manage it within the platform. You also certainly can communicate with them via DMs. A lot of them, if they're taking sponsored content, they're going to have their emails available publicly as well. Most of them do have other social channels. Lauren Gray, for example, she, really started off as a popular YouTube vlogger. She still is on YouTube as well. So a lot of these folks, there's other ways to reach them. You don't feel like you have to have access to the creator marketplace to partner with TikTok influencers. It's certainly not a requirement, and there's plenty of ways to find them otherwise.
Awesome. Well, I know we're at 1:35, so want to be conscious of everybody's time, but we appreciate you all joining us today. Like we mentioned, we will be sending out this recording, but feel free to follow up with us with any questions via email. If we didn't get to them, we're happy to talk more about that. And obviously, if you are able to join us on Thursday, if you have any COVID-related questions, we'll be addressing those then. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you guys have a good rest of the day. Take care.